What would you do if your dog suddenly ignored every command, bolted from the training field, and disappeared into the chilly forest mist? On a foggy morning in the mountains of northern Montana, Lieutenant Rachel Monroe, 42, was running what should have been a routine K9 exercise with Titan, her seasoned 6-year-old Belgian Malinois. But then Titan stopped, completely still, at a spot that wasn't even on their training map. Nothing could have prepared the team for what was buried beneath that damp forest floor. Something so shocking it shattered protocol and turned a simple training day into a case that made headlines. Do you believe in animal instincts? Before we uncover what was hidden beneath the soil, hit that subscribe button to follow more powerful K9 stories that touch the heart. And then it happened, the sound no one could ignore. A low, urgent whine from Titan, unlike anything Lieutenant Monroe had ever heard from him in 6 years together. His body was stiff, tail straight, eyes locked on a patch of ground near a cluster of fallen pine trees. Rachel called out again, firm but calm. "Titan, heel!" But he didn't move. Instead, he began to circle, tight, focused loops, then suddenly dropped his chest and began to dig with a desperation that sent a chill down her spine. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Rachel's breath caught. Her instincts as an officer told her to pull Titan back, follow the schedule, avoid embarrassment in front of her superiors. But her instincts as a handler, as someone who knew this dog better than she knew most people, screamed louder. She dropped to one knee beside him, brushing aside the forest debris with trembling hands. Within minutes, the soil gave way to something unnatural. Roots were cut clean through, not grown around. The earth was loose, recently disturbed. By the time the backup shovel arrived, the mood had changed completely. No one was joking anymore. As Rachel pulled away another layer of damp soil, the forest seemed to hold its breath. And then came the dull, unmistakable thud. Not wood, not stone. Her gloved fingers froze, then moved gently, clearing the final dust from the edges of what no one ever expected to find on a training day. Nothing could have prepared them for what lay just beneath the surface. Rachel's gloved hand brushed away the final layer of soil and froze. There, emerging from the dark, damp earth, were fingers. Human fingers. Pale, partially decomposed, and unmistakably real. The clearing fell silent. Titan sat back slightly, ears still alert, eyes fixed on the spot as if to say, "I told you." Rachel's heart pounded so hard she could barely hear Sergeant Mullins behind her whisper into his radio, voice tight. "Possible human remains. Northeast sector. Get forensics, now." Within the hour, the training field had transformed into an active crime scene. Yellow tape marked off the area. Officers moved with solemn precision. Titan, still by Rachel's side, watched the activity with quiet intensity. As the forensic team expanded the dig, more of the body came into view. The frame of a teenage boy, his limbs twisted unnaturally. There were no visible wounds, but the position alone sent a message. This was no accident. Rachel felt a wave of disbelief. Just this morning, they joked about coffee and early fog. Now, they were looking at a case no one even knew existed. Who was this boy? How long had he been here, buried beneath the pines in silence? It was Titan, not a hiker, not a drone, not a patrol, who had pulled the veil off this hidden tragedy. And something deep in Rachel's gut told her. This wasn't the last secret that Forrest had to give. But just when they thought Titan had done his job, he pulled the team even deeper into the mystery. As the forensic team worked to preserve the burial site, Titan began to shift. He stood, tail rigid, nose working furiously in the breeze drifting through the pines. Rachel noticed it instantly. His entire demeanor had changed again. He wasn't done. With a low woof, he turned east, tugging gently at the lead. Rachel gave him the command. Find more. Titan moved with laser focus, leading her past fallen logs and ferns to another patch of disturbed earth. This time, he didn't dig. He sat, perfectly still. That precise sit signal she knew by heart. It meant evidence. Forensics moved in and uncovered a cigarette butt lodged beneath a decaying log. Minutes later, Titan moved again, stopping another 6 feet away to indicate something else. A blood-stained handkerchief half buried in leaves. Rachel exchanged a knowing look with Detective Alvarez, who had just arrived. "This isn't just a grave," he said grimly. "This was a dump site, and someone tried to clean it up fast." What Titan was revealing wasn't just one piece of evidence. It was a trail, a scent map only he could read. His ability to distinguish between a body and items associated with the event was beyond standard protocol. It was rare, powerful, and now it was rewriting the entire case. And then, just when the pieces started falling into place, fate handed them an unexpected witness. Park Ranger Caleb Simmons, a 24-year veteran of the Montana Forest Service, heard about the body over his service radio. The coordinates stopped him cold. "That's the old logging site," he said. "I was there 4 months ago. Ran into a group of teenagers, 4 of them, camping illegally in that exact clearing." His voice was calm, but Rachel saw the shift in his eyes as he remembered. Red Jeep Wrangler. Oversized tires. The kids looked rattled, like they were trying to leave in a hurry. Detective Alvarez perked up. "Anything stand out about their gear?" "That's the strange part," Simmons replied. "Sleeping bags still rolled, tents untouched, like they never actually camped. But their fire was going and there were a lot of beer cans. I figured they were just panicked about getting caught. But now? That memory was something else entirely. Back at the station, the investigative team pulled yearbook photos, DMV records, and campsite permits. When Simmons was shown a few images, he didn't hesitate. That one, Tyler Westfield, he was mouthy, and the bigger one there, that's Ethan Drake. He tried to calm things down. The story the boys had told 4 months ago, that their friend Landon Cooper had gone hiking alone in Crestwood Park, started to unravel at breathtaking speed. They hadn't just lied. They'd sent the original search party 20 miles in the wrong direction. Titan hadn't just found a body. He'd pierced through an entire web of deception. What do you do when your dog breaks every rule, yet turns out to be the only one who's right? Lieutenant Rachel Monroe had spent years in uniform, abiding by protocol, chain of command, and checklists. But none of that mattered when Titan, her loyal partner, went off script and refused to back down. It wasn't defiance, it was conviction. And that conviction had led them to a truth buried deeper than any map could show. What had begun as a training exercise became a murder investigation because Rachel chose to trust instinct over procedure, and a dog over her orders. When news of Titan's discovery broke, the department buzzed with calls, emails, even press inquiries. One headline from the Bozeman Tribune read, "Hero Dog exposes a deadly lie in the woods." But it was more than a headline. It was a reminder that animals, especially working dogs like Titan, often perceive what humans miss. They don't get caught up in politics or ego. They follow scent, energy, emotion, things we've trained ourselves to overlook. Rachel remembered something Master Sergeant Bill Callahan had told her the day she first met Titan. "He's not broken," he'd said, watching the alert. Independent young Malinois with quiet pride. He's just waiting for someone brave enough to trust him. Now, standing at the edge of a grave no one else would have found, Rachel finally understood what he meant. But the moment that stayed with Rachel the most didn't come from the crime scene. It came 3 days later, in the quiet hush of the forest clearing where it had all begun. The wind was still, and Titan sat beside her, calm now, his mission complete. That's when a pair of footsteps crunched gently through the fallen pine needles. Rachel turned and saw them. Karen and Joel Cooper, Landon's parents, walking slowly toward the tree, where flowers, photos, and notes now formed a small memorial. Joel held his son's favorite flannel shirt. Karen clutched a framed picture from his last birthday. "We wanted to see the place," Karen said softly, her voice rough from days without sleep. "The place where your dog gave us our son back." Rachel knelt beside Titan, resting a hand on his strong shoulders as Karen crouched in front of him. Titan didn't flinch or pull away. He just watched her, still, focused, almost reverent. Slowly, Karen reached out, her fingers shaking, and touched his fur. "Thank you," she whispered. "You didn't just find him. You made sure he wasn't alone out here." And that's the moment. That right there, the moment when protocol, headlines, and evidence bags all fall away, and what remains is something raw and human: closure, love, and a dog who refused to walk away from the truth. This story reminds us that sometimes the right path isn't the one outlined by rules, but the one guided by trust, instinct, and heart. Titan, a dog dismissed for being too independent, revealed that extraordinary outcomes often come from those who refuse to conform. In our own lives, especially as we grow older, we learn that true wisdom often comes from listening. To others, to experience, and sometimes to a quiet voice inside us urging us to pay attention. Trusting those we love, even when their actions don't make immediate sense, can lead to healing, truth, and unexpected grace.